Welcome everybody to Doodtacular, where curiosity meets creativity. I'm your host Freeman, joined by my co-host Colt, and today we have KaninGames on as our special guest.
Let me tell you a little bit about Kanin today. He's a Pokemon challenge creator who likes to share his content on KaninGames YouTube channel. He's obsessed with shiny Pokemon, talking about YouTube and meeting new people. His love for Pokemon stems back to his childhood, where he would quiz his parents about the Pokedex numbers of each Pokemon. That's pretty detailed. And his love for Pokemon has only continued to grow since then. He started creating Pokemon content on Twitch with the release of Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. And then he spent 3 years live streaming his shiny hunts. That's a grind right there. And then eventually switched to creating content exclusively on YouTube in 2022, where he has gained over 19,000 subscribers and 6 million views on his YouTube channel. He's always learning something new and is fine-tuning his craft and loves the community that he has met along the way. Everybody welcome KaninGames to the show.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you for joining us, Kanin. So,
of course,
between the bio and just from what we know about you, Kanin, could you briefly introduce yourself and really tell us what is it you do?
Yeah, so like in the bio there, I primarily make Pokemon content on YouTube, Pokemon challenge content. Try to take the game, because we've all played the game a million times. We all know what shiny Pokemon is, and just try to take it to that next level, make things a little bit more interesting with unique challenges. But yeah, like the bio said, I started creating content my freshman year of college, which at this point is longer than I would like to admit. With skateboarding content on YouTube. And then I, kind of did some vlogging stuff here and there. And then over time, I was like, I found myself not making my YouTube videos because I was playing video games. So I was like, let's take these two, put them together, and let's make gaming content. And that's when I started to explore Twitch a lot more. Started watching a little bit of Tim the Tatman, a little bit of A-Drive for Pokemon specifically. And I was like, let's give this a shot. So I started live streaming my Pokemon shiny hunts from the Switch on Twitch. And did that for about 3 years, went back and forth, uploading some YouTube stuff here and there. Eventually just started meeting a whole ton of amazing, awesome content creators that eventually I got connected with Philly Beatsu, who you guys might have heard of if you're in the Nintendo space. Really amazing tutorial content creator. And I was coming out of, so I took a big break from Twitch at one point, and I was coming back out of it, trying to figure out what I wanted to do. If I wanted to go, and this was when like YouTube live streaming started to like kind of blow up a little bit. So people were like, oh, you going to YouTube, you going to Twitch, where are you at? So I didn't know exactly where I wanted to do. I was experimenting with both, trying to focus a little bit more on YouTube, but also live stream like the process of making the video. And at that moment, I got connected with Philly. Philly and I sat down, studied YouTube like all summer last summer, like spring to summertime. Went really hard with it, and I decided to just go full steam ahead with YouTube, pretty much exclusively at this point. Like I said, this is the first time I've been on Twitch in a long time. But yeah, so pretty much just been full steam ahead with YouTube ever since. Still sticking to the Pokemon niche despite this urge to try some new things. Haven't taken that leap of faith just yet, so still sticking to my guns. And I've been obsessed with Pokemon my entire life. I still have my childhood Totodile, which is my favorite Pokemon from when I was like, I don't know, 9 or something, chilling on my desk. So love for Pokemon goes way back.
So I don't know if I can find it, but I have a Charmander from like the same series. They came in like these big Pokeballs.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
I have a Charmander, and I think I had a Cyndaquil at one point, but I lost it because Cyndaquil, like Gen 2 was my generation. Yeah. I was too young. I mean, I was literally like 1 year old when like Pokemon came to the US, but Gen 2 was like, yep, this is me. I'm all in it.
Yep, same for me. That Pokemon Crystal was my first Pokemon game I ever played. Crystal, I then went back to play the other ones.
See, I'm the old Crystal guy. I'm the old guy in the room.
I'm sorry.
Like Red and Blue was like the first Pokemon experience that I had, and it was what got me hooked as a kid on Pokemon. And then the cards obviously were a huge deal in school and everything. People trading them around and stuff. So it was I'm the old guy with going back to Red and Blue.
See, for me, it was Crystal. That was the game that got me hooked. And honestly, that game set me up for so much disappointment from future installments.
Oh, no.
Well, so if you remember Crystal, right, it had 16 gyms. Yep. It had both Kanto and Johto.
Yep.
And then after Crystal, that generation, yes, Gen 3 was awesome in its own regard, and I love Gen 3 just as much, but it's it felt small compared to Crystal, right?
Yeah.
That game had so much in it.
Definitely got spoiled with that one for sure. I remember being young, I had my Crystal cartridge, and I lost it once. Lost it for a year. Didn't know where it was. Found it, was super stoked, lost it again, haven't found it since. It's gone. It's long gone. I'm so upset.
Yeah, I think I had growing up 3 different cartridges of Crystal, and I recently found my old Game Boy and my Ruby and Sapphire, and I think Fire Red I still have. I used to have every Pokemon game, and that was my jam. So Kanin, I know you talked a little bit about creators that help to inspire you, and really Pokemon as a content niche you wanted to jump into. When you did decide, hey, I want to get into making content, what did those first steps look like?
Oh gosh. Okay. Now how far back are we going? Are we talking about gaming content specifically, or content in general? Because I started on YouTube.
Yeah, I would say specifically when you started with your Pokemon stuff, back when you were doing the shiny streams, kind of the beginning of that.
Yeah, so so the Switch had just come out, and it was really an exciting time. So at this point I took a big gap from Pokemon, and I started playing. I picked it back up. I stopped playing after Diamond and Pearl. Picked it back up with Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire. Played Sun and Moon in college, and then the Switch came out, and it was Let's Go, and it was time to go back to Generation 1. So I was full steam ahead, super excited, and I started to watch a lot more Pokemon content. And at that time, A-Drive was the shiny hunting person. There was not a ton of entertainment Pokemon creators that at least I knew about. A-Drive was that breaking point for me. So I was watching his stuff, and like I said, I was making YouTube content prior. So I was making kind of I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Yes Theory on YouTube. So I tried to do my own 30-day challenge that they did while I was in college. So I was trying to do this challenge. The Switch came out, and I was playing Pokemon instead of doing this challenge. So I was like, okay, I started watching Twitch casually here and there. I was like, let me give this a shot. I didn't have a PC or anything. I literally started live streaming on a Dell Inspiron 2-in-1 laptop that I had my Blue Yeti microphone. It's probably still in this closet. And one of the classic Logitech webcams that I still have hooked up for different angles. But that was it. That was the entire setup. And it was horrible, frontier Wi-Fi in college that, if you looked at it now, it probably looks like it's 480p. So that was kind of the start of it. And I was making all of my overlays myself. I had a clothing company that I was messing around with in college as well. So I had some graphic design experience a little bit with that. So I was making my overlays, all my alerts and all that stuff. I loved doing all of that stuff. And slowly but surely, I started out doing some shiny hunts, and Let's Go. If you guys have ever played it or tried to shiny hunt in it, it is the most boring shiny hunting you could do. You literally stand in one place as the Pokemon pop up, walk around a little bit, and then despawn, and then pop back up, walk around a little bit, and despawn. That's it. And I would just sit there. It was more of a just chatting stream with some Pokemon in the background.
There's got to be a lot of chat interaction to keep that going. If you're just doing that over and over looking for shinies, and then obviously when you find one, it's kind of a hype moment, but in all that downtime, you're probably interacting with chat. That's not bad.
Yeah, 100%. I always when I was on Twitch, so I streamed on Twitch for quite a while. Like I said, a good 2-3 years. Consistently, and we built up a really cool community. I see a lot of them actually in your chat right now. There's some coming back, which is cool to see. I haven't seen those guys in a minute. But so there's a whole lot of community-based, conversations, and I always said kind of the logo, or not the logo, the motto on Twitch was community first, gaming second. And so it was always about the chat interactions. I wanted to have the discussions, wanted to get the chat involved. So yeah, that's pretty much like the start of my gaming content career.
Cool.
That's awesome. Colt, you want to take the next question?
Yeah, let's shift over to kind of your expertise and insights of what you do, especially on YouTube and stuff. So can you share some of your favorite projects or videos or experiences that you've contributed to your growth and success? Like has there been any video or any certain project you did that really catapulted your growth?
Let me look through my library here quick, because off the top of the head, it's a little bit tough, but there's definitely been some. So I've done a lot of experimenting. And there was one video in particular that I had. So I do a lot of shorts and long form on YouTube. I pretty much do everything that you can on YouTube. I look at YouTube as an ecosystem. It's a entire. There's so many aspects to it that people can interact with. As they interact with one thing, they'll see that one thing more and more, and then eventually that's going to lead to them seeing these other things that you do. So I do community posts, I live stream, I post shorts, and I do long form. I do everything you can on YouTube. And everything, I think, contributes to growth. It really is an ecosystem. I think if you can find that balance between it all, you're really going to see a massive growth chart. I don't know what I'm trying to say. You're going to propel forward. Yeah. If you use it as an ecosystem. So, but one video in particular that I would have to say that really that I was the most proud of and really set myself and give myself the confidence to really push forward and dial it in was my video that's find the shiny or burn the Pokemon cards. I uploaded that last August 19th. At that time, that video was the most successful video that I've ever had. It blew up to, let me look at the analytics real quick, actually. And at this moment, the channel was only active for maybe a month and a half, 2 months, maybe at most. And within the first 3 days, it shot over 2,000 views. And I was like, wow, this is awesome. So I'm seeing momentum with this. And then within less than a month, it was at 14,000 views. And so seeing that was really the push to be okay, this is something that I think we'll probably talk about a little bit later as well. But the video was inspired by a PM7 video where he used Pokemon cards to pick his shiny hunts. And then if he didn't find the shiny, if he failed the shiny actually in Legends Arceus, because it was easier to fail shinies in that game, if he failed it, he ripped the card. So I took that idea, just changed it up a little bit, as you should with YouTube. You never want to directly copy somebody, but I made it so that if I find the shiny if I don't find the shiny within an hour, I have to burn the Pokemon card. Which was aggressive. And I pulled a really cool alt art Lilligant that I had to burn, and it hurt, but I was like, it's for the content, and clearly it worked out. Thank God. So, but
if that video would have flopped, you would have been super sad on that.
Yeah. I would have been, yeah, because it's a beautiful card. It was an elegant Lilligant. You know what I'm saying?
People can get sad just because their video in general flops. But if you did that and it flopped, that's just even worse.
Yes, it would have hurt. And I think it was think it was like a $12 card or something too. I think like it wasn't like it was a good card. It was a good enough card that I was like, oh, this is worth putting in a hard case. And instead, I set it ablaze.
So, Kanin, you kind of touched on it a little bit. The ideation process. I think that's, in my opinion, what sets streamers apart from true like content creators creating recorded content, because there's a totally different mindset. Not saying that one's better than the other, but there's a different approach. Streaming is really about consistency and approach to your niche that you're trying to target, whereas with recorded content, whether it's short form or long form, it's all about the idea, right? What is the idea you're trying to convey? Does it hook people in? With that said, you kind of touched on your ideation process of taking inspiration. How do you go about, do you like have an idea? Do you throw basically wet noodles at the wall to see what sticks? Do you see what other people are doing? I guess, how do you take that all in and then, comes out as KaninGames' newest video?
Gosh, okay. There's a lot to it. There's so much. So before I get into like the process of it, I just want to say that there's so much more to it than even what like most like creators even think. And there's like, okay, but there's a lot to it. So one of the things that obviously, like when you're starting out, if you're starting a fresh new YouTube channel and you're starting from scratch, you want to find out what niche you want to get into, where you want to sit, and then from there you want to study. There is so much studying in YouTube that most people don't even think about doing, and it's something that I didn't think about doing either until I talked to Philly and we sat down. I'm telling you, we sat down almost every night for at minimum 3 hours, like for like a month straight, just breaking things down, looking at different channels, looking at their thumbnails, what's working, what's not working, how long their videos are, what their hook is, how what the challenge is itself. There's so much study that goes into YouTube that people don't realize, and it's the number one thing I think that sets people back, or sets like that's where that gap comes in, where it's like quote unquote small creator. Everybody's a creator. I don't like saying that term. I really don't, because everybody's a creator, no matter what size you are. But I think that's what puts that little bit of a gap in between, like, oh, this guy's legitimate, and it's that extra time behind the scenes that most people don't think about. Like I said, I never did it until I did it, and I was like, holy crap. The biggest thing I could say with content creation is you don't know what you don't know. So you have to put in the work, and you have to study and learn. But in terms of the ideas specifically, obviously I have this hyper niche down of, we have Pokemon, we have shiny Pokemon, and then the shiny Pokemon challenges. So I'm not just finding shiny Pokemon, telling the story or reactions to it. I'm doing these specific challenges to it. So I kind of go in it from that approach. You want to get as niche down as possible. So I want to make sure that it's a shiny Pokemon challenge that I'm doing. And what I do is I really look at, I'll look at, so I actually have two YouTube accounts. I have the KaninGames account and then my personal account that I just use for fun. The KaninGames, I'll watch videos that are specifically meant for studying YouTube. But I'll just scroll through YouTube and see what other people are doing, whether that's in the Pokemon niche or outside of the Pokemon niche. For example, I just did a video that we uploaded last week that was a $1 shiny Pokemon versus $1,000 shiny Pokemon. Mm-hmm. And that's something we've seen on YouTube for years now. It's something that people have done, but I haven't seen it done I've seen it done in Pokemon Go. Mystic 7 has done a $1 Pokemon account compared to a $1,000 Pokemon account. But I've never seen it in the core game. So I kind of had that idea. And then from there, I was like, okay, cool. It's a cool concept. It's been done on YouTube. How the heck am I going? You don't pay for shiny Pokemon. So how am I going to convert that? What I ended up doing was I talked to the team that I have, the two guys that are on KaninGames team, and we decided to go the route of making it time investment. So time is money concept. We converted that into the $1 versus $1,000. So
I like it.
Yeah, so there's a free shiny Pokemon that you can get from a quest line in Legends Arceus. That was the $1. And then I shiny hunted Arceus himself, which took 28 hours to do, 1,600 resets, and like 13 days of shiny hunting. So
wow.
So that's how we kind of got that comparison. And then from there, when you actually have a crazy breakdown of my videos that I recently just made this week, where I have so many different notes from podcasts that I've listened to, books that I've read, things that I've absorbed, people I've talked to. I have so many notes all over the place. So I decided to organize my notes, and I have a Excel sheet that is broken down from the idea, the thumbnail, the title, the script, the edit, and then the results. And I filled out that Excel sheet before I recorded today's video, and it was really nice to have this complete. Like, I sent it to my editor. I was like, take a look at this. This is the video that we're doing. Let me know what you think, if we need to adjust anything, like, so he can get an idea of like to picture the edit kind of as we're going forward, and like the emotion that he wants to use when and all this stuff. But having this like crazy organized Excel sheet, I'm really excited to try this moving forward, and I'm hoping it does justice.
That is awesome, and that's something that even Colt and I take to heart. Is this what sets, in my mind, people who are serious about content creation from people who say they're serious but don't necessarily back their actions up, is the willingness to always be learning and always be inspired by what's out there. It's one thing to just copy, like, because I mean that is a whole trend, right? You see all the Mr. Beasts in the world, like they're literally just doing what Mr. Beast pioneered, which even he did what you do, which was, you know, if you ever go back to listen to Mr. Beast interviews from 3 to 5 years ago, he talked about how all he and his core group of friends used to do while he was young was they would meet for like 5-6 hours every day and go through YouTube, right? And go look what's popular, what's trending, and try to figure out why, right? That analyzing of really the data to say, what are the key formulaic things you can do to gain success? And now look at Mr. Beast, where he's literally going to be, you know, the top solo content creator here on YouTube and not too far from now. Like, I think that attitude makes a huge difference, and you can tell, you can see the results, right? If you're looking and you're truly digging through what other people are doing, you'll start to see trends.
100%.
You'll see things that work. And, you know, you may invest a lot of time into one video and you go, you know, I thought I had every I dotted and T crossed, and it just flops. And then you go, well, why? And you learn from it. And the next video, you keep going. Colt and I, we've recently had some success with YouTube Shorts, and we've figured out, you know, there's certain things that certain styles of content, even the way it's edited, right? To the 100%. T, how you start and stop a short will kill it or make it. And then you can take that same short that got 3 million views on YouTube and post it to TikTok and gets 4 views, and you're like, well, it is what it is.
Yep, 100%.
So speaking of shorts and success with that, how has your journey as a content creator been so far? I know you've recently had huge success on YouTube with your videos. Specifically, I know you've had some shorts basically go viral. Talk about that.
Yeah. Real quick before I get into that, though, I do want to just like double down on what you said, because the two biggest things that when it comes to growing as a creator is having an open mind, like you said, constantly learning, figuring things out, recognizing those patterns, but also asking why. Why is like the most important thing that you could do as a creator. When you're doing that studying, when you're doing that research, you want to know why they did absolutely everything they did to that video and why that pushed it forward. That's so important. That's so that's, if you could sum this entire talk up into two things, it's that right there: being open mind, study, and ask why. But yeah, so in terms of the YouTube growth, YouTube's been crazy. So I started to get a couple thousand views on a lot of my earlier videos, and that was really cool to break through. But I found myself kind of doing this, making these videos that were more so just doing what was trendy rather than trying to like take something and make it my own a little bit. And that's why I love that find the shiny or burn the cards video. Because that was the first video that, that was the first video that I really kind of did that with. Since then, you know, I started making shorts back in November of 2022. And they did okay. They got a couple thousand views. It wasn't anything crazy, nothing like huge. But then it was beginning of this year, I believe, January, February, I don't know the exact date. But YouTube really decided, hey, we're going to go full steam ahead with shorts. And not only that, but we're going to integrate it into our ecosystem. Again, it comes back to that ecosystem and where it's going to help your long form content and actually help your long form content. So yeah, I started posting shorts. My shorts have been all over the place. Some of my earliest shorts are like me messing with Pokemon cards. I left a Pokemon card in Monster for 24 hours to see what would happen. It shriveled up. Like that was it. That somehow got almost 8,000 views because people probably thought more would happen and it didn't. Then I had my wife quiz me on the Pokemon. I had 30 seconds to guess the Pokemon. Saw some traction with those. And at this point, I'm like, okay, this is interesting. I'm seeing some traction with Pokemon cards with my short content. And I started to try to kind of double down on it. So I did more guess the Pokemon. I left a Pokemon card in Red Bull. Plummeted. It peaked at 518 views within 2 days. I privated it and I said, I'm never uploading that again. That's the last time I'm doing one of those. But again, it's all trial and error. That's the biggest thing. And then eventually I started to get into these commentary, opinion-based shorts. And if you know anything about the internet, they love opinions.
Yes, they do.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I uploaded this one short that was called Top 5 First Evolution Shiny Pokemon of Generation 9. And I just went through all the shiny Pokemon. And at this point, I was really trying to dial into the shiny Pokemon niche because I was kind of experimenting with just Pokemon content in general prior. And I made this short. It did really well comparative to anything else. Within 1 day, it got up to 4,000 views. And then shorts, I'm noticing, at least my shorts, they always take some time. So I uploaded on December 13th. On 13 days later, it was up to 10,000 views. And you start to see this crazy spike. And then by January 6th, it was at 77,000 views. And so I was like, okay, cool. So I started to see that traction a little bit. So I was like, all right, let's do another opinion-based one. And then this is where things got crazy because I did. And the next one I did was the shiny legendary Pokemon. And now this is definitely a short where timing was everything because they were leaked online. They're shiny locked. You can't shiny hunt them. But like the files were leaked. You could see what the shiny Pokemon legendaries were, even though you couldn't get them. So I made a short on it. I ranked them. Shared my opinion. People love opinions. So that obviously boosted a lot of engagement in terms of the comments. And right. Yeah, I posted this short and this short skyrocketed. And so I uploaded this one on the December 15th. By December 27th, it had over 100,000 views. And this was my first taste of that 6-digit number ever. And I'll never forget this day either. I was at work because I don't do this full time. In case any disclosure, I was at work and I was watching the analytics on my phone and just like tweaking out. I saw it hit 100K, screenshot it, sent it to my friends, sent it to my family. I was so stoked. I was like just praising God. Like I was just out. It was the most insane thing that's ever happened. And then days kept on going by and it just kept on going up and up. And within 3 days, it was at 250,000. So of course, naturally, I'm going to double down on this. Like that's how you do that. So
yeah.
I made another short. I uploaded it a week later. It was the starter Pokemon, ranking all 9 of them. It was a lot for a 60-second short. But I ranked all 9 of them and same results. That is currently my most viewed video of all time at 884,000 views. And again, this just to go to show that YouTube at this point was transitioning and making their short content link with their long form content. I uploaded my long form video not long after that, where I let BuzzFeed decide my shiny Pokemon video or my shiny Pokemon hunts. And it was starting off really slow. It was plateauing about 1.5 thousand views. And then I made the best long form video that I've ever made, which was again inspired by another creator, but I did my own twist on it. That's all YouTube is. That's all of content creation. Nothing will ever be 100% original.
Right.
So I uploaded a long form that was I surprise trade 500 started Pokemon so you don't have to, and that just took off. It January 15th uploaded, January 20th 55,000 views. It was the most viewed long form video I've ever had. And little bit of a YouTube tip here: end screens. That video you recommend at the end is super important and can change another video and cause so much traction, because that video that had 1.5K, I linked to it at the end of that video. I linked it at the end of the surprise trade video. The BuzzFeed video now sitting at over 41,000 views because of that momentum. So again, that's the ecosystem of YouTube. It's all an ecosystem. Everything's linked together. You just have to learn how to weave your way through it and manipulate it. But yeah, so I mean, sorry, that was a little bit of a ramble there, but
You're good.
You're good.
We're here to learn.
So shorts are definitely important, and I've seen so much momentum. I have a couple shorts now, like you said, at this point that are over several 100,000 views, and it's really, really cool. But there's also a little bit of a scare, and I've heard this in Colin Samir. They did a roundtable with a bunch of other YouTubers, and it's like Ryan Trahan, Michelle Kara, I believe in last name. It's a bunch of different creators. But one of them even said this as well, is that there's a little bit of a concern that shorts can cause an inflation in subscribers and, a little bit of a false representation of how the channel actually is. And that's something that I struggle with. I struggle with a lot. Because obviously it's really cool and really satisfying to see these bigger numbers. And I do love the short form content that I make, because it is specifically short form content. It's not just repurposed stuff. And
right.
But I don't want to get caught in a short form channel, So
right. Yeah.
Right now I'm currently at the moment where I'm kind of like battling back and forth between shorts and long form. And I'm trying to pull back on shorts just a little bit. And really put a lot of time and attention on long form, because ultimately that's where the money is. I'm going to say it's a thing. It's like, if we're trying to be this full time, you have to treat it like a business. I have a thumbnail artist. I have an editor. I want to be able to do this full time. You have to treat it like a business. And, in order to get those, so I did a short with Vandy323 when he blindly ranked shiny Pokemon without knowing what was coming next. It had 800,000 views, and I have no problem disclosing this because I think it's a pretty important to see that this behind the scenes. I made $65 from that short.
Wow. 800,000
views, $65. Now going back to, let's say, so I made one of the long form videos that I have on my channel is shiny hunting Pokemon on hard mode. It has 16,000 views. Nothing crazy, but it's one of my better videos, and I'm really proud of it. But that video made me $90, which is an absolute fraction of the amount of views.
A quarter of the views, and whatever, 50% more of the income. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, not that that's all that's not the most important thing by any means, but if you are trying to go full time, that's an important thing to take note of. If you are,
long form is the key to the full time success, basically.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. That was a lot. I'm sorry, guys. I'm so addicted to YouTube, and like this could be a 4-hour podcast.
Oh no, Colt and I are the same way. And for a while, we were on that train of like, we had several. I mean, honestly, we probably had, I think, 20 or 30 shorts that hit well and above 100,000 views, and we had a couple of TikToks go millions of views, and like our TikTok account exploded, but then died off because those few videos were so niched and so not what we wanted to do that it didn't matter. But then we for a hot second we were doing news videos of creators, and we were trying to like branch our content to take, the news that we were covering for content creation and gaming. And if people liked those opinion-based news shorts, that they could convert over to our long form, which would be like really more news, but also really, how do we put it, Cole? The origin
discussed. Yeah. Oh, you're talking about the origins.
Yeah, we were trying to do like documentaries on creators, and we did a couple, and they did all right. But the issue is, right, you have to be niched enough to start out with. And that's why we were like, the shorts were great because it was niched so into gaming or specific creators. But when you start making long form and it's niched like that, if there's not that search volume behind it, it's just you're throwing time away in that video because it's not going to get traction. Whereas like a short that's that niched on a creator or a specific game or a piece of news, that will get picked up if it's done right. If you can hook, that viewer's attention to not swipe away in the first 3 seconds.
Yeah. I mean, listen, content in general is so finicky, and it's so tough because, like you said, you don't want to make something that you get known for, and you're like, oh shoot, I don't want to do this. Like this isn't this isn't what I want to do. And that's why, like, I keep saying ecosystem, because that's what's really important, is you want to make shorts that are the same content as your long form, so that, and that's probably the best, that is the best way to avoid that hyperinflation. So that, you don't have 50,000 subs on YouTube, but your long form's getting 200 views, and making the shorts, making the shorts linked to your long form, or at least be within the same niche, is where you're going to see that cross-pollination, hopefully. And it doesn't always happen, but I mean, you get, especially now, I'm sure you get people that is clicking on YouTube just to look at shorts. So they might not even see my long form to begin with, let alone, if they do see it, to click on it. But yeah, that's, I mean, listen, anything's possible on YouTube. Like, I know you're saying like that's almost too niche, but listen, anything's possible. If you could find a way to package it right and relate it, make it look like something else, but then unpackage that, undo that packaging in the intro, so people are like, okay, I clicked on this, I got this satisfaction, and then you kind of like you work their way through to what you're really trying to say, Mm-hmm. Hey, anything's possible. I mean, Dudeford, have you guys seen Dudeford on YouTube? Dodford, I think his name.
Heard of him.
Yeah, dude, he's crushing these like celebrity documentaries, just going through entire stories of celebrities. I think he started with the Childish Gambino one, and it got like 1.23 million views in like a short period of time, like a week or something. I don't know the exact numbers, but like there's an audience for it. It's just you got to figure out a way to package it in a way that makes it appealing to them. And that's one big thing with YouTube too, is that you want to, unfortunately, nobody cares about who you are. That's the worst way to say it, but it's so true.
It's true though.
So whatever you're making, you got to provide value to the audience and give them a reason to click on it, whether it's entertainment or education. They have to get something out of it. They have to feel something in some way, or that's where like you got to pique curiosity.
Right.
So,
it's really
you got to like
lose their attention.
Yeah, 100%. And again, this is something I could really get into, but like even when you're making the video, you want to remind people about what's going to happen at the end. You want to be conscious. Like I literally take note. I tell my editor we can't be on the same scene for longer than like 20 to 30 seconds. And we can't be on the same topic for longer than, I don't know. I mean, it depends on the topic, depends on the hunt and like what we're going for. If we're trying to go for like emotional build, you know, we'll stay on it for upwards of like 3 to 5 minutes. But ultimately, like, you want to move on to the next topic pretty quick.
Right.
Yeah.
And you want to re-stimulate, you know, over and over again. But go ahead. Sorry.
There's a statement you made about your Red Bull video, the card in the Red Bull, that you privated it. Is that a technique that you use to like, does that help your channel, but not leaving that video public?
I mean, it's all
weird strat.
It's all theoretical. There's nothing that nothing's set in stone with YouTube. It's all just trial and error. Mm-hmm. But the big reason for me privating that was I didn't want. That's more of a psychological thing, and like a branding thing than it is like, oh, YouTube's gonna not use this to push my stuff now. Like, it's not gonna account for this when it's pushing content. Okay. It's more, it's not like that type of thing. It was more so I don't want people to click on my channel, look at the shorts, and see this 500 viewed short compared to these other, like, even at the time it was only like 2 to 10K, you know, around it, but like 500 was like nothing. So I didn't want people to click on it, to click on my channel and see that, and then have that kind of image. And it's a fine line because if you, like I said, if you're trying to treat it like a business, it has to be a brand. And Nike doesn't, like, you see people controversial takes on different brands and they're like, we don't want to work with you because we don't want to be associated with that. And not that this is nearly as dramatic as something like that, but it's like, that's not my best work. And I don't want people to see that, you know?
Gotcha. Yeah.
That's fair. So, Kanin, we talked a lot about YouTube and really how you view it. What do you with all the craziness with platforms, new platforms popping up like Kick, Twitch trying to double down, YouTube making platform changes. They launched Shorts in the last year and a half. They've been slowly adding features on the Shorts. You have Facebook, who's a player in this, Rumble, all these different platforms that are trying to get in on really video. I mean, even Twitch is now, talking about doing their own form of a discovery feed. So when you look at that, I guess, how do you look at the future of YouTube? Do you think it's still going to reign on top, or do you think we're almost at a point where really anything's up for grabs as far as who's going to lead long form and short term video? Because right now short form is still TikTok. YouTube is making a dent in that because it's the king of long form. But I guess, where do you see all of that landing?
Yeah. So in terms of short form, I think it's slowly getting a little bit more diverse over this last year in particular, where obviously, I do think TikTok is, like, when you think of a vertical video, you think of TikTok. Like you said, YouTube is definitely making a dent, but I'm going to be honest, even Instagram Reels, like, my brother who's 19, I'll like go up to him when he's sitting on the couch and he's scrolling through Instagram Reels. I was like, I didn't know people did this, like, so I think shorts are really diverse right now. And I definitely think TikTok's at the top, but I think it's slowly, like, I don't think it's going to be a complete even playing field, but I think that's all over the place. In terms of overall video content, though, I mean, I might be a little biased, but I think there's a lot of proof that sticks to it. I think YouTube is the best platform. I think for multiple different reasons. I mean, they have everything that you need to make video content. You have long form, they have short form, they have live content, and they have a community tab, which is basically Twitter on YouTube. And you can talk directly to your subscribers and get information from your subscribers to use or to market to brands, to make videos, future videos with. Like, that's my strategy with community tabs is, I do a bunch of surveys to get to know the audience. But I mean, YouTube, it's a household name. Everybody knows it.
Everybody.
Grandma,
like
grandpa.
Everybody knows.
Yeah. It. Yeah. A 3-year-old kid wants to watch YouTube. You don't know something, you YouTube it. It's like a verb at this point. And also, there's also a lot of analytics showing that YouTube is actually becoming a dominant place on the television. So people are sitting down on their TVs to watch YouTube. That's all I do. I don't really, like, every now and then I'll put on Netflix, Hulu, or Disney Plus when something big drops, like the One Piece live action or, the Ahsoka series. That's it. I'm not casually watching TV. I'm watching YouTube when I'm sitting down. I'm watching Tim the Tatman. I'm watching Cody Co. I'm watching Ludwig. I'm watching, Shiny Catherine when I'm feeling Pokemon, because sometimes I don't always want Pokemon. I need a break sometimes.
Yeah, I understand that.
Back.
But I just think that YouTube is the dominant force and the go-to video platform for sure. And I know, these other platforms are trying to compete, but YouTube just does it the best. And they're the most community driven. They listen. They're actually on their platform. They're most outspoken. YouTube's just the best. Totally biased.
And that's okay. All right, so let's move into talking about some lessons and advice stuff. So first question would be, what's a piece of advice that you wish someone had given you at the start? Now that you've went through making all this content and had the success, what's something that you could go back and wish you could have started with?
The number one thing is studying, really trying to learn the platform and not just blindly uploading. Once I started doing that, it's a whole new ball game. It's a whole new perspective. It turns it into a game. Like, YouTube is a game. Like, I make videos, I play the game, I put the videos together, and then I have to play the game of YouTube with that video and the thumbnail, the packaging, and all of it.
I'm bad at games.
I'm sorry to hear that.
He's old.
I believe in you. Hey, listen, all you have to do is study, okay? All you have to do is study, and you'll be good.
I was bad at that too.
Learn how you study, then you can study.
That's why I have freedom.
Listen, this is something that I haven't really shared much, but it's on the very, 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 very far back burner that it's a thought that I want to put into action at some point. I want to put into like a jumpstart your YouTube channel type of thing, like a quick PDF that just kind of goes over the broad basics of it. But ultimately, that's the number one thing that I think everybody who wants to be a content creator needs to do is study the platform, learn the platform. Learn, if you're doing short form, learn the hooks, learn what people are doing to hook you in to get those 3 to 5 million views and, the 200K likes and all this other stuff. You want to learn within your niche. You want to learn outside of your niche. You want to learn the analytics. That's the other thing. Analytics are so important, and most up and coming creators don't look at them. They just think, this video didn't do good, I'm going to try something else. And you upload another video. But if you're uploading the same style of video with the same edits, and you look at your average view duration, and your average view duration is 15%, you need to do better edits. You need to make the video more engaging. You need to cut things out. You need to make it you need a better hook in the beginning. Like, analytics is so important. And same with click-through rate. Like, if your click-through rate is at 0.5%, your thumbnails are trash. I'm sorry. Like, you need to make better thumbnails. Like, it's just, there's so much to it, and it's so important. And like, that's the other thing. Like, I'm being completely blunt, but you need that in this space. And that's what yes. I always, thank Philly, because he will like look at something and be like, that's trash. And I'm like, thanks, man. I spent 5 hours on it, but I guess I'll figure out how to make it better.
Good it's nice to have people like that.
It is,
you need
though.
That.
One of the most frustrating things, I think, when you're a content creator is when you ask someone for a piece of advice on something and they tell you it looks great and it's trash. And you're like, yeah, tell me it's trash.
Just
I want to hear
it about it.
Look me in the eyes and tell me I made a piece of garbage. No, it's so true though, and you need that, because that's the only way you're going to grow. Right. And especially when you work on something for so long, it's so easy to become attached to it, and you need to that's another thing that is important when you're creating something, is you have to disassociate yourself from it. Like, look at it at the surface level for what it is. Watch it as an audience member, forget that you worked on it, and just look at it and think, do I like this? Would I sit down and watch this? Is this entertaining? And if you find yourself picking up your phone, scrolling through Twitter, cut that out of the video. You have to be really, really like hard on it. Like, Mr. B says all the time, you got to make the best videos possible. And even though you think it might be the best video possible, you're going to upload it. And then in 2 weeks, you're going to be like, why did I upload that? Like literally the video I uploaded last week. I'm like, I could have cut so much out of that. Why did we leave that in? That doesn't push the story forward. That doesn't add to any emotion, you know? Like, why do we leave this in?
So it's funny because you said something there that Colt and I have said as almost a mantra. Why would I create something that I myself would not consume? On
That's
quality
so
or entertainment basis, why would I make something that I wouldn't watch?
Exactly.
Because we're editing our own stuff. And so like if I'm editing something and by the time I'm done editing it, if I watch it through the final time and don't like it, I'm like, there's no reason to keep it. If I'm still not hooked on what I made, even though in editing, you're going to see it a lot. It's kind of like, so it's kind of the same thing in songwriting. Like I've recorded a few songs, and if by the time you've listened to the engineer edit on it and work on it, and they play it over and over and over in the studio, if you were sick of the song by the time you're 10 hours into the process of tweaking it and you already don't like it, the song sucks.
Right. Exactly. That's 100% it. And like if you're making a thumbnail, there's plenty of websites that you could use to like put the thumbnail up next to other videos. But like if you look at the thumbnail and you're like, that looks so amateur, I would not click on that. Don't use that thumbnail, But yeah, it's super, super important. And also when you're doing that though, make sure you're giving enough time in between, because like there's been plenty of times that I'm like working on something. I'm like, yeah, this looks great. But I've looked at it for 5 to 7 hours and it's like,
you become blind.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And you're like, it's better than what it was. But then like, you don't realize it's still not good, So I always think like there's a good 24-hour gap that you need to have before you really think like, okay, this is good. And again, you're going to think it's good in those 24 hours. Give it 72 hours after uploading and you're like, I could have changed this, I could have changed that. But that's the whole part of the game, is it's ever evolving. It's all trial and error. And the big thing too is you can't get caught up on that, and you need to just push through and keep uploading. And that's something that I struggle with a lot. I get caught up on when I upload a video and underperforms, beats the living hell out of me. And I'm like, oh gosh, like I feel like I failed, and I'm like, just learn from it and upload another video, dude. And then you're fine,
So continuing on in that same vein, content creation, it's not all like, even if you're successful, it's not all like happy days. Everybody loves your content. What in your experience has been one of, I guess, the biggest challenge as far as content creation, whether it be feedback you get from people, your own perception on yourself? Because I know that's something that we've heard a lot as content creators, that you get in your head to where you can't get out. And so you become self-conscious, you're awkward. The whole process becomes awkward because you're inside your head. So I guess what has been some of the biggest challenges in your experience as being a content creator?
One that I am just now coming off of, and that's why I was saying earlier before we fully started the podcast, was I'm coming off of a break, was balance. I was absolutely, as you can tell, I'm very passionate about this. Yeah. I was absolutely obsessing over YouTube, and that was all I thought about literally 24/7. And it's something that I've struggled with, finding like that balance and being present. And I actually have a life coach that I talk to. And she helps me kind of talk through and find that balance as well. But balance was really difficult for me because it's so easy to obsess over it. And you're always watching YouTube. You're always looking at like your analytics and all this other stuff. So I actually, after this last break, so crazy story, I was obsessing over YouTube for quite a while. Earlier last month, my Gmail got hacked. I lost all access to the Gmail that was associated with the KaninGames YouTube channel. Yikes. Freaking out. The last year of all this work just gone out the window. Luckily, they didn't do anything. There's no like banking information associated with it, so I was fine. Didn't delete any videos or anything. The YouTube channel was okay. but I had 4 days where I couldn't access anything YouTube related. And it was the most liberating 4 days of my life. I felt so free because I was so addicted to like hyper fixating on every little detail, which you need to do, but you also need to do it in a healthy way. And I was doing the unhealthy way.
It's like having a good solid diet without creating an eating disorder.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly it. And so I lost all access, and like I was incredibly frustrated. And it was such a headache trying to get back. Luckily, the YouTube team was fantastic and got me access to it. But I really saw it as a Christian afterwards, looking back at it. I saw it as this opportunity where God was like, hey, man, remember me? Like, you haven't been spending any time with me. I'm going to yank this cord so that you're forced to spend time with me and like rebalance and recenter your life. And that's unfortunately how God pushes me to change and be a better person, because it's always these big events. But it works. So since then, I've been... It did, and it worked, because now I'm finding this balance again where I'm making content every now and then. I recorded the full video today. Tomorrow, I'm going to come home. I'm after work, relax, play some video games, and just kind of chill. Do things in doses. But so that's one big struggle for me, is definitely finding that balance. Another thing is like the you were talking about like the sense of self a little bit, and imposter syndrome is definitely a real thing. Like, I went to PAX East the beginning of this year, and it was an amazing time. I met so many awesome Pokemon content creators, and like I hung out. I actually got to meet Philly in person, which was really cool. Then like we went, dude. Yeah, it was really nice, and we went and like hung out with him for the weekend, and then we did like a big PokeTuber like dinner one of the nights, and I went and. There's just so many amazing content creators that I've chatted with here and there on Twitter, but also like that I've watched for the last few years to get information. Biggest one was Austin John Plays. Like seeing him, like he was literally, I was sitting next to his, so it was me, Billy's brother-in-law, Austin John's fiance or girlfriend, and then Austin John. And I was like, this guy has 2-some million subscribers on YouTube. Like, he's trending all the time when a new game drops. Like, I've been watching him for years about how to do different things. I watched his entire Animal Crossing series, and he's just like chilling a couple seats down from me now. And like, my wife was even like, oh my gosh, it's Austin John. I was like, yeah, it's like, because I watched it on the TV and she's seen him. So like being there at that moment, I was like, what am I doing here? Because even at that point, I think I only had maybe 3,000 to 5,000 subs. Like at that point, like if that, I don't even know if it was that high. Like because I just got monetized in January with 1,000 subs, so it might have been 3K. And I was like, I do not belong here with these big dogs. Like this is crazy. But like, I mean, you put in the work. You know, you make the connections, you make those friends. Like I went because Philly pushed me to go, and you know he was the one that like kind of reassured me. That's like, nah, dude, like there was a ton of different sizes too. Like it wasn't just like all those big dogs either. You know, you had various levels in between. But it was just like, what am I doing here? Then like even when I look at my analytics, like I'm like, oh cool, like big number. But it's like when you think about that big number, it's like this is insane. Like this is what I dreamed about a year and a half ago, you know, and what I prayed for, and like it's there now. And so like that's definitely another thing too. But biggest thing for me was definitely balance. It's so easy to get sucked into it when you're trying to become the best and make it a full-time thing. So taking that step back and realizing there's more to life than YouTube.
Yeah, definitely. All right, we're going to move into our last segment of the night. And this is our rapid fire fun round. We just like to ask fun questions, you know, answer them quickly, or if you want to talk about them as much as you want, that's fine. But we'll just start off with the first one, and it may be combining to another one, but we'll see. What is your favorite video game of all time? Okay,
that's a tough one, and it might surprise you that it might not be. It's actually not Pokemon, I don't think.
Oh, okay, that's what we were wondering.
I love Pokemon as a franchise; it's amazing. But like, what? Oh gosh, that's so hard. One of the most like, one of the most memorable games that I think is incredibly underrated and needs to come back is Ratchet and Clank. Ratchet and Clank was such a prime series on the PlayStation 2. I love Ratchet and Clank with all my heart. I grew up with it. It's like my go-to game. Ratchet and Clank, or I don't know. I mean, even the original, like the new Spider-Man game was phenomenal.
It was pretty good.
But if we're talking franchise as a whole, I have to go Pokemon. There's so much to it. It's never ending. I don't. That's might have shocked people there.
So, continuing on to the next question, what is your favorite Pokemon game of all time?
Oh, that's an easy one, actually. I actually just talked about this not too long ago. Actually put a tweet out on this, and it kind of went viral on now X, I guess. It's not Twitter. But it was Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire. Absolutely phenomenal game. It's the best remake, and it's such an amazing game. And people came at me saying, what about Heart Gold, Soul Silver? There are 2 regions in it, and Pokemon can follow you. Listen, I flew up in the sky on a Mega Latios, whatever one it was, depending on the game, and like flew through wormholes to catch a legendary Pokemon. And it had the entire national dex. And I spent, I'm not even kidding you, 300 to 400 hours on that game without creating content.
I would say you'd like it a lot.
What's really sad was growing up, Ruby and Sapphire were probably, I mean, Crystal was my favorite, but I really love Ruby, Sapphire, and most of all Emerald, because that storyline was way better, and Rayquaza. But anyway, I completely skipped Alpha, Sapphire, and Omega Ruby. Like, skipped
That's a mistake.
I feel like I'm regretting it now. I recently found my Nintendo 3DS XL, and I'm like, do I buy a copy?
Find it on eBay.
Do I buy a copy and play it? Like, I'm now itching to see, like, what is this the hype I missed?
You're catching them at a bad time. Starfield's out.
I know.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's true. But that might be hard to convince you to not play that for a bit. It's such an amazing game, and it had the national dex, and like, I mean, listen, I don't know. It also had like the Emerald post story, which was really cool. So like, it had Emerald in it. The Delta episode, that's what it was called. But it had the national dex, and it was just so much fun. I got all the legendary Pokemon. I had this little hack, and it's short tangent here. I had this little hack that apparently you had a Stunfisk. You couldn't catch it in the games. It could only be traded from like Black and White or something like that. And even though I didn't have those games, I got it through Wonder Trade. So I just bred a Stunfisk, put it up on the GTS, the global trading system, asking for legendary Pokemon, and they just came in swarms, dude. I would just every day I just had to hatch another Stunfisk and get another legendary Pokemon. It was great.
That's awesome.
So what is your favorite Pokemon?
Oh, Totodile. 100%. This little guy.
Totodile. Okay.
I love him. Okay. He's a goofy little crocodile. Fuecoco is right behind him because I decided
he's a fire crocodile.
Exactly. And he's just as goofy. My favorite genre of Pokemon is goofy crocodiles.
So, Kanin, what is a popular game everyone seems to love, but you don't like?
Oh gosh, that's a tough one. There's not one that comes to my mind right away. I'm gonna say 2D Mario side scrollers. I know those are super big and that's a staple of Mario, but I really don't enjoy them. I pick them up. It's like a mini game for me. I pick it up. I play 2 levels and I'm done. I'm bored.
Now, did you play Super Mario Odyssey when that came out?
Not when it came out. I actually had it for years and just played it earlier this year. I really enjoyed that game. Yeah. Okay. I thought it was super easy, super short, but it was a good game. Short. Like it was no Mario Sunshine. I love the 3D Mario games. Sunshine's like phenomenal. Haven't played the Galaxies though. That's on my radar. I have the Superstar pack for the Switch, and I need to play Galaxy still. But yeah, the 2D side scrollers, I just don't care for them. Wonder looks cool though. I will say that Mario, the new one, Super Mario Wonder, the one that's coming out, it looks interesting. I'll probably end up getting. I don't know how far I'll get in it.
I have a lot of those games in my library.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So tough question here, but not really. Do you think esports are sports?
100%. Yeah, I definitely think so.
And why?
I think there's no physical aspect, obviously. Okay, we can brush that to the side. We're not
Besides
complete like. That's true. Yes. These fingers, these dexterity on these fingers are nuts. But no, I think there's just as much like training and effort that goes into it as there does with any other sport. It's different. I think we still have to put in a little bit of physical exercise when it comes to video games every now and then, because I don't sometimes and I feel like trash. But I think no, I mean, if you look at since we're talking about Pokemon, looking at competitive Pokemon, that is such an advanced level of like thought and you're playing 3 steps ahead. And there's so much thought that goes into it and skill, especially, I mean, Fortnite, like building in Fortnite is my brain. I'm so past building in Fortnite. I play 0 builds. I don't touch builds. I literally have my builds unbound on my keyboard because I will not play it. But yeah, I mean, being able to do that is just insane at an elite level.
So we like food related questions. So and philosophy. Those two seem to go hand in hand. Food and philosophy. With that,
love that.
Is a hot dog a sandwich?
Oh gosh, I don't know. That's a hard one. I mean, it's
meat and bread.
It's meat in between bread, but like if you were to just throw pepperoni, salami, turkey on bread, is that a sandwich, or is that just turkey on bread? You know, usually you got to throw some cheese, bare minimum, and then lettuce.
To cheese.
Some sort of.
Just messing.
My
grandfather is a rare breed of person he's not allergic to cheese, but my grandfather will not eat cheese.
That is strange.
That's interesting. So
will not eat cheese on anything.
So is a hot dog a sandwich? I mean, it could be, I guess. It's meat. It's meat in between bread.
Okay.
All right.
If that's the bare bones of a sandwich, I don't know what the definition of a sandwich is.
How do you pronounce GIF?
GIF.
.gif. Yeah.
It's a GIF.
A GIF.
GIF. There we go. I'm finding that I'm in the right camp.
Oh, you've been 100% right on every guess so far. Everyone says GIF.
Wrong.
It's because I'm a boomer. Okay, I'm old, so I say it wrong because that's what older people do, right? They pronounce things wrong, and then you correct them, and then they tell you that you're just a young whippersnapper. You need to hush and listen.
So back
right.
to food. Kanin, when you say, talking about sandwiches and cheese, you say, man, I want pizza. Pizza's great. I think most people love pizza. That being said, does pineapple belong on pizza?
See, I had a feeling that's where you were going because we're talking about controversial food takes and I heard pizza. I don't like pineapple to begin with, so I'm not putting it on anything. So I'm going to say no. I
can respect that take.
Just don't like pineapple. Thank you.
All right. This is the question to know whether we should ever associate with you again publicly or not. Is when you're making a bowl of cereal, what do you put in first?
Oh, it's cereal all day. You got it. You're pouring the cereal. Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
I don't know. Do you guys know any? Do you know anybody that puts the milk in first? I don't know a single human being that actually does that.
Not yet. But we're trying to find out who in our circle of people and surrounding is actual psychopaths, so we can excommunicate them. That's 100%.
I'm not sure they would admit to it. I'm almost scared that they would be onto us.
They might be. Is it too obvious? Maybe
I mean, you
take
did.
That back
you
in
did
like
open
the expertise section.
You did open that with. I have to, depending on this answer, I may never speak to you ever again. That's basically what
true.
you said before you
Shouldn't
asked
have
it.
said
So I
that.
would hold that until the answer. Yeah.
Good point. But
So-
we didn't.
Hey,
wanna
that's a
have to
YouTube
never-
tip. That's a YouTube tip. You
YouTube
want to
tip. There
delay
you go.
gratification.
See, that's why
So-
we're failing, Freeman.
Is it okay to wear socks with sandals?
Slides, yes. If there's a big toe division, absolutely not.
That's a very
The
specific
actual
answer.
flip flops with the toe divide.
That's what I was like. That's
Because at that
No
point you just
shot.
have hooves. You're just like a goat at that point.
yeah. Like you got your big toe sticking out the one side, and you can't do that.
I'm gonna start doing
Socks and Crocs, amazing. Socks and slides, 1,000,000%.
Thank you. I've had a
But
business
If
idea.
you're sticking your big toe through it, I'm your Shuby. Shout out to Rocket
Shuby.
Power if you guys know what that is.
I love Rocket
Yes.
Power. Great
Yes.
show. But I've had a business idea for a little while now is to have a store called Socks and Crocs. And like
Okay.
you can sell like decorated socks, like different kinds of socks. And then you can even like color match them with certain Crocs. And then, you know, you have like the Croc ornaments that go on your Crocs. Like you can sell
Yeah.
all the stuff.
There you
And
go.
it's a
Heck
genius
yeah.
idea.
It's a load of crock.
Let me
I tried
know
to get
where
Freeman
this
to invest
location is.
500,000 and he won't do it.
No. So, Kanin,
I was looking into business partner. Sorry.
final question. This is the big one. What is your go-to fast food order? Where is it from? What are you ordering?
I've been on a huge Chick-fil-A kick recently, and it's the Chick-fil-A deluxe meal.
Basic Christian answer. It's good. It's good.
It is. It really is. But I just love it. We never had one in the area until like the last like 2 or 3 years. So we got it, and I'm full steam ahead with it. I'm such a fiend for the Chick-fil-A sauce. You got to go spicy. You got to go pepper jack, and absolutely no pickles. I hate pickles. My wife says I'm a picky eater. I'm sorry.
No, I'm with you. Pickles do not belong on my cheeseburger,
just the
and they
basic
definitely don't
sandwich.
belong on my Chick-fil-A sandwich.
The basic
Oh,
Chick-fil-A
dude.
sandwich, just the chicken and the pickles is so good. No sauce, no nothing. Like
It
Problem
ruins
with
I eat it so
problem with
fast it
pickles-
can't make it to sauce.
the pickle juice gets soaked up into the bun, and you just taste pickle. It's so overpowering.
But
I
you're
hate
talking
overpowering
to a guy
taste.
who will drink the pickle juice out of the jar.
Well, then full steam ahead for you, brother.
Yeah, you know, I'm just a rare breed. Most people disagree. Most people don't like the pickle that we've seen so far.
My
If it's
wife
not
is the same way.
Chick-fil-A, if it's not Chick-fil-A, it's Wendy's with the 4 for 4, 5 for 5, whatever deal they got. That's a steal. I love
The
that.
biggie bag. That is a steal.
Yeah, right? I mean, come on.
Well, Kanin, thank you for joining us today. And before we wrap up, if someone listening or watching us today wants to watch Kanin and follow him, where do they go? How do they do it?
KaninGames across pretty much every platform. I think at this point, I think I got the rebranding across everything. TikTok, YouTube, Instagram. I just recently made my Instagram. I'm not very good at posting on it,
He's
but
jumping on the
very
reels.
active. Right, that's true. Very active on Twitter. Obviously incredibly active on YouTube. KaninGames across all platforms. Talk all things Pokemon and YouTube.
All right, friends, you heard the man. Go check out his content. He is a maestro and a master of Pokemon and a rising star to us. And I think if you're into Pokemon, you need to check him out. Kanin, thank you for joining us this evening. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you guys for having me. It's been a blast. I appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you, man.
God bless you.
We'll see you later, man.
Doodtacular.